Okay, so we've now worked out that Prince William is really passionate about ending the illegal wildlife trade. Prince William is a keen advocate for the rights of wildlife and keeping them safe. He is so keen then that he recently delivered a speech. Okay, in other words, he has intentionally taken action. Okay, and his action is to deliver a speech. Now, this speech is aimed at persuading others to join him in the fight to protect endangered species. Now, guys, remember where we began? Okay, we're right back in Athens. We've got influential men using rhetoric, persuasive speech to encourage others to support them. And this is what Prince William's doing. Okay, now it says you have a copy of his speech, and we're going to read it through and then focus on the opening section. Now, there's a copy of this speech attached to today's lesson, but if you prefer just to let me read to you and follow along on screen, do so. If you like to print off the speech, you may. So you've got to imagine now that I'm Prince William. Okay, I've got slightly more hair and definitely shorter and a bit more girly. But fundamentally, as I start to speak now, I am Prince William. Yeah, ready? Okay. Your Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to London. It is heartening to see so many of you here today, united by a common desire to end the illegal wildlife trade. I have just returned from a visit to Nambia, Tanzania in Kenya. I saw some tremendous work being done to intercept the trade and keep animals as safe as possible in their natural habitat. I also learned about the absolute importance of community-led conservation so that people value wildlife as an economic resource. Some of the rhinos I saw are under such threat that they have more bodyguards than I do. Wouldn't it be better, though, if the demand for rhino horn dropped to the extent that they didn't need anyone to protect them at all? So we're now going to just come outside of the speech and do a quick summary activity. Okay, summarizing is always about distilling something you've read down into your own words. Okay, so you can see on one side of the page, we've got the opening of the speech. It's exactly the same as I've just read. And on the other side, we've got our sentence stems to copy and complete. So in the opening of the speech, William ... begins by, and then finally he. So we're looking to summarize what he does in this speech. Now, at this point, you can pause if you're confident, if you feel able to do this, to use this as an independent activity. Okay, guys? So you get a choice. Okay, hear me. You have a choice at this stage. You can pause, copy and complete your summary by yourself. Now, not going to lie, that's going to be a better indicator of your own understanding. However, guys, if you want, I'm going to just give a few prompts. I'm going to go through this opening again and just help you think about how you might summarize this speech. All right, my darlings? So if you want to be independent, pause now, copy and complete your summary. If you want just a little bit more support from me, please do. Okay, so your excellencies. Now, this is a really old-fashioned word, but it recognizes that Prince William is not just speaking to you and me. Excellencies. There are some dignitaries in this room. There are maybe some other princes from other countries, a few kings dotted around, but there is definitely people of very high up position. So he's being polite. He's acknowledging the power and the position of the people in the room. Your Excellencies, ministers. So ministers are like RMPs, people from different countries who might be elected representatives, MPs, ministers. Ladies and gentlemen, and then he recognizes that the audience is made up of more a broad range of people. So we could argue that he begins by, or in the opening of the speech, William welcomes his audience. Okay, and he does actually use that word, welcome to London. So we could argue that in the opening of the speech, William welcomes the audience. We could be more specific that William acknowledges that he's got a large audience, an audience full of dignitaries, ministers, people interested. Then we've got that lovely welcome to London. It is heartening to see so many of you here today, united by a common desire to end the illegal wildlife trade. So we could argue that he begins, so he's welcomed them, that's the opening, then he's beginning by making it really clear what they're there for, that they're all united by a common desire to end the illegal wildlife trade. Now, heartening is an old-fashioned word, but it means it warms my heart. So he's feeling something Yeah, that's his feelings being kicked in. It's heartening. I feel happy. I feel encouraged to see so many of you here today, united by a common desire to end the illegal wildlife trade. So we could argue in the opening of the speech, William acknowledges his audience. He begins by showing them that he feels happy that they're there and that they're all united. They all have the shared goal of wanting to end the illegal trade. Okay, so we've summarized the opening, we've looked at the beginning. Okay, and then what does he do and how does he end this opening? So I have just returned from a visit to Nambia, Tanzania, and Kenya. Now, guys, if you look, each of these words, Nambia, Tanzania, and Kenya, has a capital letter. So we're either talking about the names of people or a place. Okay, so he's talking about places that he's been. Now, we could imagine, if we didn't know, that these might be places where wildlife are being illegally traded. But you might know that these are places in Africa. Okay, I saw some tremendous work being done to intercept the trade and keep animals as safe as possible in their natural habitat. I also learned about the absolute importance of community-led conservation so that people value wildlife as an economic resource. So I'm not saying we're going to do our and then moment, but in this paragraph, then, he's actually sharing his own experiences. He's telling us that he's been to these places, that he's looked and seen the work that's being done. And he's very complimentary about it. Tremendous work. Okay. Some of the rhinos I saw are under such threat that they have more bodyguards than I do. So he's got that little exclamatory there. He's trying to be what, guys? Can you see it? Yeah, he's trying to be funny and make a joke. That's about creating a nice relationship with his audience. Wouldn't it be better, though, if the demand for rhino horn dropped to the extent that they didn't need anyone to protect them at all? And then, so we could do the finally rather than the then. Finally, he ends with a question. He ends with questioning why they even need to be protected. Shouldn't we drop the demand for rhino horn? Shouldn't we stop people wanting rhino horn so they don't need to protect it? So we could say that that middle bit and then. So then in the middle of his opening, if we're summarizing, okay, he shares his experience. He makes a joke. He talks to us about where he's been and what he's seen. So using those ideas, you can now, if you didn't do this independently, just stop, okay, and go through and complete these statements. So in the opening of the speech, William begins by addressing his audience, making them feel welcomed. He begins by sharing his feelings, that he's glad to see so many people there, that he makes it clear what they're all for there. They're all there for, with a united desire to end the wildlife trade. Then he shares his experiences of what he's seen and experienced in Nambia, Tanzania, and Kenya. Finally, though, he challenges in that question, in that final question, that more could be done. It's not just about the protection we offer, but can we somehow drop the protection altogether? Okay, lovely. So that's our first little bit. So we've summarized that opening of that speech. Now we're going to look at the same bit, but with a different lens. Okay, so we've looked at summarizing. Now we're going to try and find evidence. So these are words or phrases. This is proof, words or phrases that proves that Prince William is trustworthy, knowledgeable, genuinely cares, a good person, one of us. Okay, so as we go through again, I'm going to offer the same. If you feel confident, you want to try this for yourself, pause the video now and just work through that list for yourself. Maybe try and find 2 examples for each, at least 2 examples that he's trustworthy, 2 examples that he's knowledgeable. If you don't feel confident, you want to keep working with me, I'm just going to keep talking through it. Okay, my lovelies? So you kind of pause now and be independent. You'll be a better judge for yourself of how much you understand, or you can work with me. Okay, so let's have a little look then. Trustworthy. How do we know we can trust him? Well, we tend to trust people that prove themselves. We trust people who kind of like put their money where their mouth is. They do what they say. So he does do what he says. He's not just talking about the wildlife. He's been there. He's been to Nambia, Tanzania, and Kenya. He's seen what's happening. Okay, I saw some tremendous work. I've just returned. I've learned about. So this shows that he's trustworthy. Okay, it also shows that he's knowledgeable. He's got knowledge of what's happening in Nambia, Tanzania, and Kenya. He's got knowledge of the community-led conservation. So he's showing knowledge. Now, how do we know he genuinely cares about this? Okay, because it is heartening to see so many people there. It encourages him that so many people care about this. It also shows that he genuinely cares when he talks about, wouldn't it be better, though, if the demand for rhino horn dropped? So actually, he genuinely cares because he wants to do more. He's not happy with what he's seen. He's recognizing the good work, but he wants more done. Okay, now one of us, he talks about being united. Okay, that word united suggests he's one of us. Okay, so evidence, lots of evidence there that he's creating a strong ethos of him. He's trustworthy, knowledgeable, he genuinely cares, he's a good person, and he's one of us. Maybe. Okay, so it says here now, our task, what is the most effective way that William creates an appealing persona? In other words, which way works best? When we talk about what's most effective, it's what works best. So what way is working best? Is it the way he shows he's trustworthy, that he's one of us? Now, I'm going to argue, personally, I would say actually it's hard for William, Prince William, to convince me he's one of us because I don't live in a big castle and I'm not going to be king. So he's not necessarily relating to me in that way, but I still think he's knowledgeable and I still think he's a good person. So the most effective way for me wouldn't be to go down the route of him being one of us. The most effective way that William creates an appealing persona for me is that sense of how much he genuinely cares and he values what's being done and how he wants to help. So I might do this for me and say it is clear that Prince William creates a strong ethos by showing that he genuinely cares about the wildlife trade because he took time to go to Tanzania and Nambia to see the work firsthand, so that this demonstrates how much it matters to him. Okay, so that would be my one. But you get to choose at this stage. It's clear that Prince William creates a strong ethos by showing his knowledge of what's happening. Because he is able to share examples of what he saw when he was Tanzania, it convinces us that we can trust him. Okay, so you're just going to pause and complete your sentences. Off you go. Now, guys, if you're just getting a little bit stuck, okay, just pause, breathe, look back at the paragraph. Okay, go back and look at what we've read. But this is our last task today, okay? You've done brilliantly. So which do you think is the most effective way? So it is clear that Prince William creates a strong ethos by... What does he do for you? How does he convince you that he's trustworthy, that he's knowledgeable? Okay, because he and so that. So these just allow you to expand and explain your ideas. Guys, thank you so much for working so hard with us today. Okay, I really look forward to working with you tomorrow. Thank you again. And I really appreciate you guys loving the learning with me and tuning in. Bye.